on a concealed smoke machine which quickly fills the cylinder. As soon as our view is obstructed, the assistant releases the shade and seems to appear from nowhere. With no smoke, we can see how quickly the shade rolls up out of the way to reveal the assistant. Once she's out of the chamber, the magician is free to walk around back because the cylinder really is empty. But where does the second assistant come from? The secret here is in the base of the chamber, which is much deeper than it appears. It contains a secret hiding place that is just large enough for the assistant. Before the trick begins, she takes her place beneath the false bottom of the chamber. The other assistant must be careful to stand only along the edges of the base to avoid stepping on her. When the chamber is filled with smoke for the second time, the girl in the base climbs out, using the smoke to cover her actions. Here we can see her standing up. Without the smoke, it's much easier to see how she climbs out. All she has to do is step out of the cylinder for a breath of fresh air and join the magician while he gets all of the applause. It was done with smoke, but this time, no mirrors. And those are the secrets. Next, the magician will demonstrate his powers of mental telepathy. One of his lovely assistants will act as a volunteer. He displays a rainbow of colorful crayons and shows them to the girl. Next, he tells her to select a crayon at random as he holds them behind his back. She's not in on the trick, so she chooses of her own free will the green crayon. The magician asks her to return it to him while his back is still turned. Next, he instructs her to concentrate on her crayon, removing all other thoughts from her mind. He intends to use his powers of ESP to read her mind and deduce her color. He reminds her that his back was turned, so he had no way of knowing which crayon she freely selected. No, it wasn't this one. Or this one. But it was this one, wasn't it? Pretty tricky, and it was all using the power of his mind. Or was it? So how does the magician determine which crayon his volunteer chose? Of course, it has nothing to do with ESP. Here are the secrets. When the trick begins, he displays a handful of assorted crayons. They're all ordinary and unprepared. He asks the volunteer to select one at random, and it really is her free choice. She returns the crayon to the magician's hand, and he turns back around, keeping the crayons behind him. This is when the magic takes place. While the crayons are hidden from view, he uses the chosen color to secretly mark his thumbnail, then reunites it with the others. When he gestures with his empty hand, he sneaks a peek at the color on his nail. From his point of view, it's easy to see the chosen color, a green thumb. Then he does a little acting to make it look like he's trying to determine which of the crayons she selected. But he knows which is hers the minute he sees his thumb. It's a trick you can use on your friends, now that you know the secrets.
Coming up next, the secrets to the most impossible illusion of all time, as the magician and his assistants come and go through the door to nowhere. Then, the magician faces down stainless steel blades and loses his stomach. Plus, something goes horribly wrong when an assistant is impaled on an iron spike.
Here's an illusion that would baffle even the most brilliant problem solvers and skeptics in the crowd. It uses this ornate door in a very ornate frame. The magician wants us to get a good look at the door from both sides. As we can see, it sits in the middle of the otherwise empty warehouse. Nothing and no one can be seen anywhere near the door. Also note that this is one continuous camera shot. There are no cuts and no editing tricks of any kind. The magician opens the door, steps through, and closes it behind himself. The camera travels to the other side, and he's gone. Completely vanished. An impossible trick. Wait, there he is. But we just saw the back side of that door. This is like something out of the Twilight Zone. Let's look back there again. Nothing. He's vanished into thin air. Again. Here's one of his beautiful assistants. Maybe she can help. Wow, that was helpful. Not the magician, but I'll take it. I think I like this magic door. But I want to see where she came from, so let's have another look behind. It's the magician. Was he there all along? Couldn't have been, unless he can turn invisible. He steps back through and we can see that this is the same door, same continuous camera shot, and no tricky editing. I'd want to be on this side with the girls if I were him, too. He opens the door, and two more join the party. Where can I get one of these from my house? An impossible illusion performed right before our eyes. So how does the magician make himself and others disappear and reappear with his magic door? Let's look at it again. When the trick begins, the magician shows us the door from all sides. As I said, he does this trick in one continuous camera shot. There are no trapdoors in the floor and no secret hiding places. Next, he walks through the door and closes it behind him. The camera travels to the other side to find that he's vanished. Yet when the door opens from this side, the magician reappears behind it. But how? Here are the secrets. Like many illusions that are presented on television, the secret is all in what the camera sees and what the camera doesn't see. The illusion is blown when we watch from this overhead angle. Keep your eye on the magician's camera. What the lens sees is represented by the color triangle. Anything in black and white is out of camera range and can't be seen when looking through its lens. Here, the camera sees the magician in front of the door. From above, we can see that when he walks through and closes the door, he is hidden from the camera's view. As soon as the door is closed and he's out of camera range, he races off stage before the camera comes around. By the time the camera travels to the backside, the magician appears to have vanished. Actually, he's hiding in the shadows, running through the warehouse to his next position, careful to stay behind the lights. But if he's off stage, how does he reappear behind the door so quickly? He doesn't. It's his body double. Looks just like him. Sort of. Well, the costumes are the same. As the camera is traveling to the back side of the door, the double is running toward it in a straight line. The camera can't see him until he opens the door. It looks as though the magician has appeared. Then the double closes the door and he races off stage at an angle, creating the illusion that the magician has vanished again. Meanwhile, the masked magician is hiding off stage for his next appearance. Next, the assistant enters to open the door, revealing another girl. From above, we can see how this girl races into position while hidden from the camera lens. She has to sprint quickly to get into position without being seen. Let's slow it down and watch it again. Just, to get a better look. You can see everything from here. She makes her entrance and the door is closed again. This is when the masked magician makes his run for the door. By the time his camera comes around, it seems that the magician has appeared from nowhere. He then walks back through the door, closing it for just a moment. This is when the last two assistants race in from off stage. This must be how they stay in such good shape. The magician has them running all over the place. They arrive just in time for him to open the door and welcome them to the club. The carefully choreographed illusion is complete, and now you know how it's done.
Up next, the magician shows you how his stomach magically disappears after he's sliced in 3. And then, a simple balancing act goes bad when a beautiful woman is speared by a spike.
Here's an illusion that dates back to the early 1900s. There are photos of Houdini's contemporaries like Howard Thurston performing the original version of this classic trick. The magician shows us an oddly shaped cabinet. He walks around to give us the view from all sides. It looks just large enough to contain a human being. The magician calls in his beautiful assistants, and one of them hands him a very sharp steel blade. Seems solid enough. Now for another. Smaller, but just as sharp, solid, and menacing. She'll save them for later use. The magician gets some help opening the cabinet. We can pretty much imagine what's going to happen next. Well, there's a switch. Instead of one of the girls, the magician has climbed inside. An assistant secures his neck with a steel strap. Next, a metal bar is lowered and 2 steel plates secure his legs. They really don't want him to escape. The doors in front of his head are closed, along with the main doors of the cabinet. The assistants now rotate the box so that we can see that the magician has not sneaked out through the back. Next, the girl with the sharp blade slides the smaller one into the cabinet at neck height, separating the magician's head from the rest of his body. There's a painful razor burn. Now for the large blade. She slides it into the box at the magician's waist. After a bit of a struggle. That's one way to reduce your metal. No pain, no gain. We can still see his legs, so we know he hasn't escaped from the cabinet or from serious injury. Yep, there's his head. But his torso has completely vanished. The girls open the doors on each side, and now the back. Gone. His legs are still there, no middle. Then his head. Looks like only part of him got out in time.